What's up, guys? We're back with another overview. This time we're covering Peeri. She's going to be a pretty interesting team character that's joining your roster. So we'll get into some details around her. I've also been asked a lot of times to cover coefficients. I didn't really like the way that I was seeing them being calculated before. I have a little bit of a different approach. We'll get into it. If you don't like it and it's not for you, that's fine. If you have questions about it, feel free to ask. We can get into this conversation. So either hit me up here on YouTube or you can hit me up on Discord. Alright, let's check it out. So support skills, sword bestow, so co-op skill. Looks like Shadow Comp, using a weapon once can reduce cooldown by 1 second. So instead of taking damage to do cooldown, you have to use a weapon attack, so it's going to be a little slower than run. You can't just take damage. So first two are normal. Let's see, damage plus 10%. Get an extra use there. Perk 4. Got decelerate effect 50%, so I'm assuming that slows them down. Yeah, and same with Mayan Ron, you get 50% of the previous skill on the second use at perk 4, so nothing major there. Adds sword shuriken to the shuriken orb. So it looks like you get a little bit of an extra attack, and if you use a wind ninja, it happens on more of them. 100% damage on self-activation. So very similar to Ron, you get a boost for your attack, and it looks like it's going to be a little better for wind ninjas in this case. Okay, so sword wheel and then sword shadow swoops down from the air. So it looks like a two-part attack. She's got triple jump. Decision, so okay, so risk reward type situation, you get extra damage for your weapon attack if you're below 40% health. Dual wield, pretty standard for SSR. So attack boost with wind weapon on your main slot. Okay, sword wheel for your ninjutsu gets a little bit of a boost. Spore node. So just looking at the icons ahead, I think she's going to be similar to Ron in that her damage delta is going to be a little more straightforward. It's not going to be like they have a ton of complex calculations like you do with other ninjas. I'd say the only exception seems to be her her 40% or lower buff for weapon attacks. Right, let's get some more wind orbs. Or wind stones. Another weapon boost for wind weapons. Or attack boost. Decelerate. Higher percentage, okay. Attack node. More sword wheel damage, okay. So it's looking like she might be good for confined maps with the way things are working out. Alright, standard leveling up needed for awakening. Sword shadow damage goes up, okay. More sword wheel damage. Kinda wish that sword shadow... Looks like they're stuck in the ground, so... maybe they should have called it like sword grave or something. I know we got a stage called that, but that'd be kinda cool. Facing the wind, okay. More wind weapon attack damage. More attack damage again based on wind weapon being added. Okay, number of swords goes up by 3. Sword shadow. Yeah, so it looks like I was right. These nodes don't look like they're changing too much. Looks like it's all just straightforward damage, so either the ninjutsu goes up or the weapon damage goes up. Score node. Sword shadow breaking. So it sounds like there might be another portion to the attack. Kind of curious how that works out. Maybe it's in 3 phases instead of 2. Yeah, so no complex calculations there, just straightforward damage. so perks 1 and 2, since those are standard, those don't really matter as much for the test. We'll see if we notice a difference on the wheel slowing down. So it looks like, I mean, it's a test server, but it looks like it's a little bugged out. Didn't give me the reward for getting her to perk 2, so I'm not going to be able to get that last node. Last node costs 200, so I'll be a little short. Yeah, I'm short by 100. See if it pops. Yeah, okay, that's fine. I can still do all our testing. Alright, so let's check out her relics. Steady sword handle, so decision, weapon and skill attack, plus 240, damage from minions plus 9%. So this looks like it's intended to allow you to run at low health so that when you get to a boss you can do a little extra damage. Let's get it leveled up. That's just straight up wind damage. So the weapon damage is situational and the wind damage is straightforward. See, cooperative skill cooldown minus 1.5, extend times by 75% between boss movement. Okay, so you're just gonna reduce cooldown and increase the slowdown time. .46 is decent. It's not amazing, but it's not bad either. Kind of surprised that it wasn't boss damage increase, because that's really where you need that help. Or maybe, you know, that makes those fights harder, so maybe you don't want that. Anyway, plus 300 at 40% health isn't bad. So, you know, and that's on top of what her talents already gave. So probably should have tested out with, you know, just straight up SS. Got a funky cheerleading situation here. Okay, so you can miss. Swords are kind of cool the way they work out. Oh, yeah, it does look like there's a third part. So the swords, when they literally break, they do a little bit of continuous damage there. I forgot to swap her out, so we'll do that so we can get a proper look at her team skill. And I'm assuming she's just like Mai and Ran, where it's just a shorter version of her ninjutsu. Notice the attack kind of slides and moves with the boss, so that's good to know. So I'm liking her so far. Feels a little harder to control. Mai felt more like she was, you know, just shooting straight across. Ran kind of felt like she has a lot of screen coverage, and if you were a little off, her ice pittons or those little ice wheels, they would kind of, they were a little more forgiving in your movement, so it didn't seem like a big deal. With Peeri, if you miss, like it's a lot easier to miss your attack, it feels like. Yeah, like right there. And I'm not even going to pretend like I noticed the difference. Maybe there's... Like, I can tell they're slowing down, but I'm not sure I noticed beyond that. Alright, so perk 4, you get the second attack. Not really as big of a deal for us there. I think we want to go ahead and activate this perk 5. See what the sword shuriken looks like. You know, I will say this, the amount of work it looks like that went into animating Peeri looks like it was pretty detailed compared to some of the other ninjas. Got a lot of things moving at the same time. I think really good artwork there. Okay, so I didn't notice anything on that one. Maybe I timed it. Oh yeah, there it goes. I think I saw something, but let's wait till this ninjutsu's over to... Oh, there it goes. I saw a sword fly towards that. Let's grab another one and see what that looks like. Try the behind test too for the ninjutsu. So it's a good defensive option. So it's almost like it forces the boss down into the ground there. Oh, okay, so it does extra wind damage on top of the normal Shuriken damage. That's really nice. And I know these numbers look low, but you gotta keep in mind, I don't really have much equipped in the way of relics or weapons. I mean, I have level 1 starter weapons to go here. But it clears projectiles too, this is really nice. So that's 15 of them. See if we can get it behind me long enough to test out my ninjutsu. There we go. There we go. So it looks like if you have Wind Dash or Vermilion Bird, you can do a little extra damage. So that last part of the ninjutsu will attack from behind. So that's good to know if the boss is really low and you just need to finish it up. Alright, so just quickly showing here what the Sword Shuriken looks like on its own. And then showing how it works with element. So Peeri's ninjutsu, just doing a quick comparison. So it gets to 978 for Peeri. Run. So 973, so she hits a little harder than Peeri. And Mai hits harder than Ran. Okay, so... But that's just the ninjutsu. So you got 2 Shuriken orbs. Hopefully that doesn't make too... Hopefully the damage isn't so close that it makes a big difference. So this is the one thing you gotta be careful with when you're doing tests. You can see that the health bar is loading very slowly. If you pop it before it has a chance to fill up, you slow down its filling like that. So now I gotta do all this dodging to try to figure that out. So just something to be aware of if you're just trying to eyeball damage instead of calculate the actual values. Trying to avoid everything here. Damage doesn't really do a lot to you on the trial screen. It's really more about avoiding the shurikens and just not attacking until I can see where this lands. .963, so Crimson / Souga definitely looks like he's gonna win this one. Let's see where Itsuru lands. .971. Alright, so my damage capture method, I'm using the SS Plus bounty training. In this case, since Peeri isn't strong against Oni, I'm using Redbeard Lord. Easiest target to hit because all the attacks just go straight to the right. And the intention here is just to do as much damage as possible with the ninjutsu and then die. And here you can see that I got a different damage calculation, but that there's really a small difference when you do the math. It's pretty much a rounding error, so for our purposes, I'm not going to worry about it too much. I have 3 factors that I use for coefficient calculation, so I'm not too worried about it. Alright, so a little bit of a difference between the way I calculate coefficient versus the way that you usually see in other folks' videos. So what most people call the coefficient is what I'm calling the base coefficient, and that's your damage dealt divided by your attack. I'm going to give that a little bit more weight because it's pretty important still to consider. It's what most people are kind of feeling when you're actually looking at things. In terms of how your damage output is, but I feel like there's a little bit more consideration than that. So the next calculation that I do is the DPS coefficient, and all that is the damage dealt divided by the attack duration. And for anyone wondering, well, how do you calculate duration? It's the moment that the attack triggers. So if you're picking up a Shuriken orb, it's the moment you touch the orb to the moment that the last damage number displays and fades. If it's you tapping on the screen to activate your ninjutsu or your weapon, then it's the moment you press all the way until that last number fades away. And I'm only giving that a 20% weighting. I think DPS is important. Mai's a good example of that. Her ninjutsu is pretty fast, but so that kind of helps you understand what she's doing and what you're able to start working towards in terms of building up your ninjutsu again and then being able to subsequently do more damage. And then your tracking coefficient, this is where you're actually tracking your attack. It's arbitrary. I'm not going to sit here and act like there's a whole bunch of complicated calculation going into this. I don't think 0 is fair for this. There's a little bit of aiming typically involved. I would say Rin version 1 is probably one of the few exceptions to this, where she just has a screen wipe and then just a bunch of stuff just kind of raining all over the place that may or may not hit the enemies. So 4 different calculations possible here. If there's no tracking, it's just 0.8. If there's horizontal tracking, so it'll move in the direction of the boss, whether they're left or right. That gets a 1. Full tracking means that it moves to their position, so that's going to get a 1.2. And then a screen wipe doesn't worry about where they are, it's going to hit them no matter what as long as they're on screen, so that gets a 1.4. And in the case where attacks have multiple phases, where maybe part of it has no tracking and then it switches to having full tracking or screen wipe, then you're gonna add all those up and you're basically gonna take the average of them. So this is a simplified approach. There's other ways to do this, but I found this was a lot easier. It makes a little bit more sense to me. It takes into consideration other things that are going on with the attack besides just straight damage, where damage is considered the most important thing, but how quickly the damage is being dealt and whether or not that attack tracks also is weighed in a bit to help you out with that calculation too. Alright, so I won't read each of these rows for you, but the main idea here is I captured the duration, the attack without any team skill, with Ron's team skill, and then with Peeri's team skill. The shurikens, I didn't calculate them using both the team skill and the shuriken and damage. It was just shuriken damage. And then for the ninjutsu, it's actually both the ninjutsu and the team skill together. So just something to keep in mind as you're thinking through this and looking at what the numbers look like, and trying to make sense out of them. And then this is what I use to calculate on what I'm going to be showing next. So just keep that in mind. If you want to take a closer look, go ahead and pause the screen. Alright, so just a couple things before I get into the values that you're seeing here. I did do a little bit of normalization with my formula. Reason being, if I hadn't done that, you would have wound up with some things calculating out with coefficients of like 1,000 or something wild like that, and then other things calculating really low with numbers that might have been single or double digits. And I wanted them to make sense within what they were doing, so I figured on a scale of 0 to 100 is generally where I want to stay. I might find in the future that this calculation method doesn't work and I might need to refine my formula, but for right now I think this works. So looking at Peeri's stats when I got her set up, so again, remember she's level 120 at this point. I wasn't able to get her last team skill, so she's just a little shy of where she would have been, but it's not a huge attack decrease. So her attack right now, when I look at the team menu, is at 4,513. She has an additional 150 damage from her Master Mystique that's equipped, and then her set relic at R3 gives an additional 246 wind damage. So Shuriken doesn't have a wind Shuriken relic equipped, so I don't need to worry about any calculation there on that front. So ninjutsu is really the only one that I need to consider wind damage and ninjutsu damage for. Shuriken only accounts for the attack value there. So when I look at the attack, it's just the 4513. For the ninjutsu, it's all three of those values that you see on the right there added together, and then I do my calculations from there. So just quick rundown on where I'm at in terms of my coefficients. So we have, just no team skill used at all. Her shuriken has a coefficient of 1.31, and her ninjutsu has a coefficient of 38.67. Ron's team skill, when you use that instead of hers, then it bumps up a little bit. It gets her to 1.8 and 53.27. Now keep in mind that Ron boosts water damage as well, so there's a little bit of an attack boost, but it's not a big margin. So you see a small increase over what you saw before. And then with Peeri using her own team skill, she also gets that wind boost on top of that, so you can see the numbers go up even more. So something to note, sword hit is that perk 6 skill that Peeri has. So when you see that her Shuriken is activated, that's considering that it has the sword Shuriken with it. And then that perk 6 sword hit not active, all that's saying is that she still has the sword Shuriken there, but you can see that it's on par with Ron's team skill. So basically unboosted, it does as much damage as the Shuriken when it's boosted by Ron's team skill. So it's a pretty nice deal that you get there. And then her ninjutsu obviously boosts a little bit more because she's boosting her own skill with a wind buff there. Obviously these numbers could change if you use different relics, so my intention for these kinds of tests going forward is to have only set relics and Master Mystique. I won't be using anything else, so be on the lookout. I'll be doing these tests for other ninjas going forward, and then I'll have some tables that I can share with the broader Ninja Must Die community, so I'll put those up on Discord, and I might have some infographics that I can put up here on YouTube as well. So, that's really it. Trying to keep things as simple as possible. I found that I wound up getting deep into calculations, and I was doing a bit of theory crafting with this, so let me know what your thoughts are. I know this is a little different from what you're probably used to seeing, but I think this probably better represents how I think about it versus what I've been seeing, and I just see a bunch of numbers on the screen and I'm not understanding why they put those in, and why they aren't considering other factors. I think I could get more complicated than this. I don't really want to, so this will be it. So some final thoughts here. Peeri's really nice. She feels a little weird to use with the way that her ninjutsu and her team skill get thrown out, but there's a small amount of shifting that you kind of see the attack do. I think that does a little bit more damage if you hit the boss dead on, but I haven't had enough of a chance to keep testing that to figure that out fully. So she seems pretty good though. Her sword Shuriken, when active, it's good for boosting damage. You will get an even further boost if you have any wind buffs, so that's really nice. Similar to Ron, she slows the boss down and then she holds them in place, so it's not technically freezing, but same idea. And then similar to Ron, she boosts wind mains instead of water mains. So she's a good alternative to Ron if you don't have Ron built out. She does have a similar talent to Souga where she has increased weapon damage, so basically her health gets reduced below 40% and then she does additional weapon damage, and her relics also support that, so she can get even more damage that way. And then the last part of her ninjutsu can also hit the boss when it's behind her, so that's a nice little feature there. She's like the other team support ninjas where she's not intended to be your lead, but I think she's really good for support. I think she's a good relay option. And just being fully transparent, I use Mai still as a lead ninja when I'm running fire. So I think that Peeri and Ron can do that too. Are they going to be as strong as, say, Morven, for example, or Crimson / Souga? No. Are they going to be strong or comparable to other version 2 ninjas? Yeah, I would say so. I think they're a good alternative. So if you don't have someone built out, they're a good way to invest, and in either case, they're going to be good to help you support. So her sword shuriken damage can do a lot more, like I mentioned before, so keep that in mind. And you could kind of see that, at perk 6, she had some ways in which she was keeping up with Ron, even though she technically is a little shy of her in terms of damage. So I would just say that when you're using her, keep in mind that she's intended to support for wind, She's not intended to support full water, so the way that she buffs is going to be a little different. The way that she deals damage is going to be a little different. Everybody really focuses on ninjutsu. Ron, she can be boosted by Morven by reducing her health, and she can do even more damage that way. Peeri, she's really just focused on reducing her health, and she can do more weapon damage. So in confined situations, I actually think she'll be better than Ron or even Mai. So play around with her. I think you'll like her if you choose to use her, and she's a great way to move forward. Alright, thanks for watching. If you got this far, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you on the flip side.